Welcome back to the entrepreneurial series where we uncover the real strategies, stories, and mindset shifts that are behind financial success. I'm here with a special guest today, and I know that today's topic will hit home for so many business owners, right? Um, and our topic today will be looking into why most business owners stay busy but never really build wealth. I understand because I speak to a lot of business owners, and many of them are so busy, but today we'll experience a mindset shift that changes everything. So, my guest today is someone who works with entrepreneurs every single day, and he's helping them turn their income into real wealth. He's a financial professional, a trusted insurance advisor, and also a wealth strategist. He helps business owners to reduce taxes, grow retained earnings, and build long term wealth. Well, Jed Vito, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Ajiri. Excited to be here.
Okay, but before we dive in, I want you to tell us a bit of your background. How did you get into helping business owners with wealth creation and tax efficient strategies?
Absolutely. So my story actually started far from the financial industry. I was actually an electrical engineer for over a decade.
Wow.
And engineers are trained to solve problems, build systems, and basically make things work. But the more I looked around, the more I realized that most broken systems weren't electrical, they were financial. Because I'd meet a lot of brilliant business owners, professionals, and immigrants just like me making good money, but they were exhausted, paying too much tax, and still not building real wealth. And that bothered me. So I left engineering. I built Archaea Financial from that conviction, right? If you help business owners structure their money properly, they don't just survive, they build generational wealth.
Mm.
So now I specialize in working with professionals and business owners and on tax efficient planning, cash flow strategy, long-term wealth, especially using corporate structure and insurance-based planning.
That sounds interesting, right? And I know so many people are busy running their businesses. They are not actually building wealth. And we want to unpack that today. I mean, because a lot of entrepreneurs they wear the business hat, right? Like a badge of honor, and they spend long hours. Lots of them in terms of taxes and all of that, right? But what is that thing that really pushed you into wanting to solve these problems for these entrepreneurs?
Well, basically, what I noticed is a lot of business owners work harder than anyone, right? Their money works the least, right?
Mm.
They're so busy running day to day that they never structure their finances for growth, right? Most of their companies are structured suboptimally. They mix personal and corporate money. They don't pay themselves properly, right? They don't build retained income, and they don't have a long term plan, right? So my passion goes to that. I want to help these people to really have a better system behind them.
Oh, that's interesting. I realize that there are some business people who are at different stages at their business growth, right? But what are some of the early signs that a business owner is stuck at operators mode instead of well building mode?
What I see is basically three big signs,
Mhm.
right? Number one is the business does make money, but they don't keep much, right? CRA, expenses, lifestyle, always eating at everything, and they're stuck, right? Number two is there's no retained earnings, right? Every dollar passes through from the corporation to personal, and they're not building anything. It's just another job. It just goes back to personal, right? And lastly is they make decisions under pressure, right? When they're tired, stressed, or scrambling for survival, they cannot plan long term.
Okay. I know you've worked with a lot of business owners, right? Like we mentioned earlier. But can you share a real example, maybe a client story where someone was making six figures, but no real financial growth until they started using the right wealth strategy or insurance strategy that you had proposed to them?
For sure, right? So I actually had a client who pasted themselves around 200K a year, right? The his actual company revenue is 2 million, over 2 million. On paper, very successful. But when I started digging, asking him about retained earnings and stuff like that, he almost had zero investments, no tax strategy, and his retained earnings, he had no idea. He said, I'm gonna ask my accountant," right? So once we structured his corporation properly and we implemented a tax efficient plan, then in 2 years he went from being busy to actually starting building something, almost
Wow.
seven figure now.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's not about working harder, right? It's about structuring smarter. That's what you're you're trying to tell us, right, today. You know, but what impact does that constant busyness, right, have on decision making, and financial growth if we're going to like put them together?
It's actually simple, right? When you're always busy, you make short-term decisions. You don't get to think long-term. You underprice your services, you avoid delegation, right, to save some money, and then you overspend because you're stressed. And
Hmm.
then you don't review your financials, you don't plan for taxes, and your corporation never really grows real value, right? So busyness kills wealth because it kills strategy. Yeah, you want the strategy.
Hmm. That's interesting because if we get into the real shift right now, because this is what really changes everything. In your experience, what's the biggest mindset difference between a busy owner who is just earning an income versus one who is truly building wealth?
Well, income earners ask, how much can I make, right? When's the next big client? When's the next big contract? When's the next big payday, right? But wealth builders ask, how much can I keep and multiply, right? Because the other one just looks for a big payday, whereas the other one builds a strategy, where you can actually have, corp structures and tax shelters to be able to keep more of what you make and multiply it.
So keeping more is a good thing, but multiplying those monies that you retain, like how do you do this? Is it by multiplying it through assets or through what kind of strategies would help you create wealth?
There's a bunch, right? Number one is actually just um, making your investments work inside your corporations because you get the tax break, right? And then within your corporation, you can either go a bunch of different things. You can invest in other businesses, you can put it in stock market, you can put it in real estate. But the main thing is having that structure, having that tax shelter to also protect it. And
Okay.
one of the main things that actually a lot of business owners miss is using life insurance inside their corporation.
Oh, sounds interesting. Life insurance. So a corporation can own a life insurance policy, or are you holding that policy on the owner or on the business, or how does that work?
So the life insurance would be owned by the business, which is then owned by the owner, and you're insuring the owner or a key person within the business, right?
Oh,
This works because you're paying with corporate dollars, which is basically taxed less than personal dollars. And also, once you have it inside the corporation, it's growing tax sheltered, and you can access the capital inside that corporate life insurance tax free using leveraging, right? And then you're reducing passive tax income, and then someday you can also create a tax free exit using that strategy.
that's interesting. I know somebody out there might be wondering what are all of these things we're talking about, but I know it comes down sometimes to a mindset shift, right? But what's that one mindset shift that turns entrepreneurs into like well builders?
So the one main mindset shift is stop being like the engine, right? But start being the architect, right? The engine, it's always busy, nothing works without it. But with the architect, you're building structures, you're building things that can work without you, right? So if your business will function even if you're not there. And that's the long-term thinking that you need.
I love the word architect. The architect draws sketches a building, right? And the
Yes.
builders implement. So that's really gold. But let's make this practical. What does that mindset look like day to day? And if we're looking at this, how does wealth focused business owners think and act differently?
That's a good question. Well, for me, I'm a numbers guy. So number one, review your numbers weekly, if not monthly, right? Not yearly. Like see if it every action that you do is just keeping you busy or is actually helping you build wealth, right? Number two is pay yourself properly with the right mix of salary and dividend, and that could be another conversation, right? And by doing that, you can also use building retained earnings inside your corporation, right? Because if you're not building retained earnings inside your corporation, then there's no use. Like that's why a corporation has such a tax advantage is by keeping money inside there, right? Then again, using corporate life insurance to also grow the money tax sheltered inside. And then the lastly is delegating things that isn't your specialty, right? Because your time is limited, so might as well delegate, focus on where you are the most genius on.
That makes sense. And you talk about tax efficient planning, but for the audience who might not fully understand, how can you take tools, right? Like corporate owned life insurance and wealth strategies to help you actually reduce your taxes and grow long term value.
So, like we mentioned before, insurance is the one of the most tax efficient shelters available to business owners, right? I mean, there's your house, which has the primary residence exemption, and then there's the TFSA, but that's on the personal level. But once you become a business owner, then insurance is a really good tool to growing your money tax sheltered, right? Because you can use it as collateral. You're building liquid net worth inside your policy, and it's not about actually the insurance. It's more about the strategy behind it.
Mm. Because most times when people hear life insurance as a strategy, all people think about is when life happens, right? That's when life insurance takes effect.
That's
And there are
true.
lots of people out there too who believe insurance companies are fraudulent. All they do is take your money, and do not want to pay out. But what are your thoughts about those two things?
Well, there's some. I guess some people have bad experiences, and that's why they think that way, right? But for me, insurance is a tool, right? It's a tool for you to use, not just when you die, but also while you're still alive, right? There's a lot of benefits and features that it has that a lot of people don't know about. Like you said, most people just know when you die, you get the payout.
Hmm.
But it's actually a really powerful tool that, if used in the right way, especially for business owners or entrepreneurs, can be really powerful.
Yeah. That's interesting. So let's just assume a business owner is listening to us today who is at the foundation of growing their business. What are two or three wealth habits you would encourage that business owner to adopt early, especially those who are just starting off?
That's a really good question. Well, number one, I would encourage them to save through their corporation, not personally, right? Because in the corporation, with your corporate dollars, you're actually paying less tax. So you're able to compound faster, build more retained earnings, and really grow your wealth, right? Number two is start a corporate life insurance early, because that policy becomes your capital system or your liquidity system, right? It's your safety net and also your future opportunity fund, because it's growing cash value inside. a very tax sheltered, tax efficient vehicle, right? And then lastly is pay yourself strategically, right? You can do a mix of salary and dividends, or a blend, right? You can structure it around your cash flow and your long term goals.
That's interesting. That's exactly what most people don't talk about, the structure behind success, right? And how important it is to delegate, systemize, and actually use professional advisors when they want to move from busy operator to wealth builder. So what are some of those strategies if I'm going to delegate, right? What are some of those strategies that you might want to implement for a business owner who is looking to scale up at least?
You mean like delegation, right, for business
Yes.
owners?
Yes.
So you'd want to delegate like most of the admin or other stuff that other people can do for you, right? Because if everything depends on you, then you can never really, your business will never really function, right? And you need to focus on the stuff that you're really good at while you started your business, right? Because delegation creates time, and then once you have that system, it'll create more consistency for you, right? So when you combine that, then you move from operator mode into an actual wealth builder mode.
Interesting. Interesting. If someone is listening to us right now and realize that they've been busy but not wealthy, where should they start from this week?
Well, it starts with awareness, right? I'd say print your last 3 months statement for your finances. Look where the money is bleeding, right? Identify if it's tax efficient or not, right? Then build a plan for retained earnings. Then, of course, book a call with a professional so you're not guessing, right? Because wealth starts with clarity, being aware of your leaks and fixing it.
Okay. So, but how do you help your client to achieve this? You know,
Well,
yeah.
I sit down with them, right? See where they want to go, right? Where their business is heading,
Mm-hmm.
and look if where the money is going. Like, are they really getting some retained earnings or not? If not, then we identify the leaks. If there is, then we have a plan to grow the wealth inside their corporation.
Do you have a framework that you use to achieve this purpose? If you want to help a business owner today, you know, um, what type of framework do you work with, or do you use to help your clients, achieve their goal?
Well, I usually have a standard framework where we look where they're at and where they want to go, and then we identify the steps we need to get there. But each client is unique and different, so we kind of customize it based on where their goals are, right?
Okay.
But uh, the framework is pretty standard. Like, we look at where the money is flowing, looking at their cash flow, looking at how the company is doing, right? Are they really getting retained earnings or not? Look at the leaks that they're having, and are they having the right structure?
Mm. Yeah, I know you've helped a lot of clients, right? But without going too technical, what are some of the biggest money leaks you see entrepreneurs make every year?
The biggest money leaks, there's a lot. They have company expenses that they think helps the company grow, but actually is just a big expense that really just adds more overhead, right? So
Mm.
there's a bunch of company overhead that, if we really look at it, we can clean it up, right? Like, it could be marketing, it could be uh, a company vehicle, it could be some random thing that really need to. It's case to case, but yeah, there's a lot of, each company is different.
Oh, sounds great. But when it comes to tools or systems, right, what do you recommend to help business owners automate their finances and track their progress?
A simple setup, right? Like having a financial dashboard, or even an Excel sheet to track income, expenses, taxes, retained earnings. At least having that as a business owner is good to know that, right? Like, don't just rely on your bookkeeper or accountant. Having a CRM or an automation like Easy Flow, right? Or quarterly strategic meetings. Like, you need to track. You need to track to know where, because some people, they just work, 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 and at the end of the year, they don't know what happened, right? So
Yeah.
I quarterly tracking, yearly plan review. One system can save you thousands of hours and save you thousands of dollars.
I totally agree with you because since I started using systems for my business, it saves me time and I use that time to like generate cash flow in other ways, right? But finally, right, what daily or weekly rituals help you stay aligned with the wealth builder mindset that you have already? Because every time I interact with you, I know that mindset is always there. But what are your weekly, daily rituals that you use?
Well, like I said, I'm a numbers guy, so I review my numbers weekly, right? So there's no surprises,
Mm,
and I also reflect on what moved the needle versus what just is noise, right? Like, whatever you're doing, what activities you're doing, is it actually moving the needle in your favor, or is it just busyness and noise, right? And then, of course, one is investing consistently each month, and finally is anchoring myself with gratitude, right? Because with gratitude, the right attitude, even if things go wrong, having that gratitude mindset, it keeps you calm and strategic, right? Because wealth is built through small, consistent, intentional actions.
mm. You are absolutely right, Jed. And this has been an incredible conversation. I think a lot of business owners are going to see themselves in what we just talked about today. But before we wrap up, I have a few quick reflections, right, for you, right, today. What's one belief every entrepreneur needs to let go of if they truly want to build wealth? Because sometimes these beliefs hold on to us and we just embrace it and it becomes a part of us. But what is that one belief that you feel we should let go of as entrepreneurs?
That's a good question. And I think, and I believe that the belief they should let go is hard work alone creates wealth. Because it doesn't, right? Hard work builds income, but you need the strategy, the structure behind it to build real wealth.
I agree with you. Hard work creates income, but you need a strategy to create wealth. So there's a difference between income, cash flow, and wealth creation. But what's the best financial or business advice you've ever received? The kind that completely changed how you looked at money.
And you're asking really good questions. Well, the one thing I've received that actually made me think, um, change the way I do business is, don't build your life around your business, but build your business around the life you want, right?
Mm,
Because when your business is structured around the freedom that you want, then wealth follows,
mm. That's
right?
powerful. Build your business around your life. I love that. And finally, for the business owners who are ready to build wealth, reduce their taxes, and create financial structure that truly, truly works for them and their business, where can they connect with you?
Well, they can reach me at my website, arkeofinancialservices.com,
Mhm.
or on Instagram or Facebook. Instagram, my handle is Jed Vito Arkeo, or on Facebook at Jed Vito.
Wow, that's interesting. Jed is a very fantastic guy. Whenever we meet and we discuss, I learn so much from him. I've learned things concerning investment banking. I think we have to investment lending. I think we have to have a session on investment lending. There are lots of people who are not really aware of what how investment lending and some strategies that can help them create wealth as business owners. Jed, thank you for joining us and thank you for reminding entrepreneurs that it's not about how hard you work, it's about how wisely you structure wealth. I know it's been a wonderful session, and there are lots of people who would watch this replay. And to everyone who is watching it, if this episode spoke to you, share it to a fellow entrepreneur, who needs to hear this, and take the first step forward to build true financial freedom. It's not about starting a business. We want our businesses to give us that freedom that we look forward to. Until next time, keep growing, keep building, and keep remembering that wealth isn't about being busy, it's about being intentional. So, we want to create wealth for the future. Looking forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.